Once again, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Kamas, and I'm the Business Development Executive at Wrench Solutions. Wrench Solutions is a leading provider of information management platform for organizations engaged in engineering and construction projects, including owners, contractors, designers, and consultants. Our platform, Wrench SmartProject, digitizes the project execution process by bringing all stakeholders onto a single platform. It integrates process, people, and data, resulting in a highly efficient and cost-effective project delivery model. Today, we are presenting the webinar, Monitoring and Controlling Project Information Using a Common Data Environment, presented by Daniel from Wrench Solutions. We also have a panel of three highly experienced resources from NCRTC, Mr. Rajaram, Mr. Rishabh, and Ms. Ridu, who is available online to clarify all your queries based on the practical implementation of Common Data Environment in NCRTC project. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. There will be a 30-minute session and 15-minute Q&A. The session will be delivered with the help of a presentation and product demo. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. I'll bring them up during the time for questions at the end. The session is recorded, and we'll share with you the recording once the session is over. Let me introduce panelist and speaker for today's webinar. Mr. Rajaram Prasad is a highly experienced professional who has made outstanding contribution in IT initiatives for the Indian Railways. He has vast experience managing IT implementations, including material management and inventory management. At NCRTC, he is currently serving as the Group General Manager, IT, handling all the IT applications and facilitating users with system-related solutions. Mr. Rishabh Gautam has a decade of experience in the metro rail projects. At NCRTC, he is handling signaling and telecommunications as Senior DGM of Signaling and Telecommunications. Prior to that, he worked in DMRC, managing the design and implementation of communication-based train control systems. Ms. Ridu Singh is an engineer with more than 14 years of experience in IT software development, specifically in transportation sector. Currently working as AGM IT in NCRTC, she is responsible for bringing about digital transformations in the pioneering project of Rapid Rail Transit System in India. Prior to that, she had worked in CRIS, which is the IT arm of Indian Railways. Daniel, who's an entrepreneur who set up Wrench Solutions in 1994 as a specialist software company catering to the engineering sector. The company today offers a range of products, platforms, and solutions that add intelligent automation to engineering and construction process and allow companies to save millions in manpower and man-hours. His latest creation, Wrench SmartProject, is in use on 9,000 plus projects across 25 countries. Daniel today divides his time running the company in India and developing new markets globally. We'll start with a 30-minute session presented by Daniel, followed by a 15-minute Q&A session, including Rajaram, Rishabh, and Ritu. Now, without further ado, we'll turn the time over to the presenter.
Thank you very much, Kamis. Good afternoon to all of you. I would like to take this presentation through two parts just to address why we need a CDE system. And second is, I'll actually take an example of the project and walk you through the actual data, how we handle the information which is related to a project through our application, which is Wrench SmartProject. Now, as we understand, why do we need CDE in a project? A project is an environment where you have multiple stakeholders, which primarily starts with the owner who invests in the project, who finds a consultant who designs the various packages inside this project, and then you have project management company which is associated with coordinating the various activities related to the project, and you have contractors and subcontractors who are involved in building as per the design and the information provided by the consultant. Now, what you see in this diagram here is that for a project to be executed, the information that is generated or the scope that is specified by the owner, based on that, the design data that is produced is produced by multiple consultants, and these consultant produces various types of data. One is the three-dimensional model, which is the BIM models, which are used, which is to visualize the whole product, which are the various packages, and also drawings, which are used for actually being used by the contractor to produce the shop drawings, and finally the specifications which are required for procurement. And you have a whole lot of communication, and which includes RFIs, clarifications, emails, which are exchanged between between all these organizations. So it is not only about exchanging this information between these organizations, we also have to follow a project quality plan which defines that who originates it, who reviews it, who to whom it has to go for information, and any comments coming from any of them need to be incorporated inside this designs, and eventually it has to be sent back, and eventually the design has to be released for construction or released for procurement, and based on that further activity takes place. So it is about, number one, handling the data which is sent across to multiple people. Second is managing the process of ensuring that the right people get the information and get right approvals are there. And third is keeping the information in a centralized repository so that always anybody accessing that information, depending on their access level, always get only the latest information. And for certain people, they can also go back and see the history of the information in case they have any clarifications or queries. And all the communication which is related to this is also captured and maintained in a central system. So what you see here is there is so much of information that has been exchanged between all these people. So just to give you an idea, in a typical project, the volume of information that is handled is what is detailed here. So in one of the metro projects, one of the largest metro projects that we have been involved is a Qatar metro, which where we had the consortium from Mitsubishi which was involved. The amount of information over the last 4 years, where we've been 5 years, close to 5 years, the project we are handling, they had 500,000 drawings and documents which they produced, and on an average, there were about 2 to 3 revisions to this drawing. So you can imagine there are 1 million documents and drawings, only drawings and documents which were associated with this. And then we had comments which were going through this. So they had 2 million documents, including comments, which were maintained inside the system. So we could see that on an average, uh, in every 3 months, every quarter, we were adding up about 1 terabyte of data into our servers to maintain all this information in a central system, because all the design was done on a 3D platform, which is BIM, and all the drawings were produced using the CAD application they were using. There were about 75,000 plus correspondences which were exchanged between the different stakeholders in this project, and all this had to be maintained. So that's a volume, and you can imagine this has to go through 6 or 7 parties which are associated with this. So in this particular scenario which we were taking up as NCRTC, is a 15 billion plus project where you have 3 corridors which are done. So the people who are associated with this project, as I mentioned earlier, there is a consultant, there is the general consultant, which is the consortium. Then you have 6 detail engineering or design consultants who are associated with this, and then you have multiple 2 main contractors who are involved in it. So this information which I talked about, over the period of next 3 to 4 years time, the volume of information that we need to exchange between all of these people to finally execute this project is the challenge that we are facing in this project, and that is where CDE comes into picture in terms of managing this. So now what I'll do is, let me making a presentation on a PPT is one part. So why I would like to straight away dive into what is that we do and how is that we do on the application, so that you get a good idea about how the system actually operates. So starting with the 3D model, now the in the initial stage, you identify, the design consultant will say that these are the 3D models that are going to be given, and there is a process flow which specifies that what is the flow of the 3D model. So here you are basically having a 3D model designed, it is sent for review to the client, and it may go even to other consultants, and finally with the comments that are there, it is sent back to this. So the design application which we are using here is Revit, which is our BIM platform. So this is the design application where the design has been done, and once the design is done, you can see that from the design application itself, you can publish this information for review into the into Wrench SmartProject. So essentially what happens is you're staying in the same environment, and as per the workflow, you can send this design model for review to the client within the Wrench platform. So now this particular data from the 3D model, which is the design information, is published here in the same platform. So that's where the common data environment comes in, and then the person who's accessing it, or the whoever is viewing, who are authorized to view it for review and comment, they can section this design. So you can see this, I'm taking a section of it, or if I want to put a comment inside this, I want to do a walkthrough. All those things can be directly done as it is published from the design into to the specific user, who can put his comments. So now you can save this particular comment, and this comment can be sent back to the designer. So the designer can view this comment which has been sent in his platform, which means it is in the BIM platform, and make the modification, and then send back, republish this information back into Wrench to say that, okay, we have incorporated these changes. And so in a seamless way, you can actually communicate between these two people, which is the designer and the reviewer. And that is also governed by a workflow, which means it goes to specific people who have been assigned to this responsibility, and based on that, they can access this model, they can view this model, they can even they can even do some measurements or sections or whatever. So now once this particular model has been comments have been taken care of, and all these are completed, then this model is frozen, and this model can be even shared with your contractor in case your contractor is using this information to produce your shop drawings and other detailed design drawings from you. So first part of our data that we are exchanging in the common data environment is the BIM model and the 3D models with all the related information between the various parties which are associated with this. So now next thing that which is the reality is, eventually from the 3D model, you actually produce the 2D drawings. So you also make a list of drawings. So what you see here is a list of drawings which are required for construction. So it could be shop drawings, or it could be drawings coming from consultant. So for each of these drawings, also just like I have a workflow for 3D models, for 2D drawings, the drawings are submitted by the consultant, and this is reviewed by the client. Again, this workflow is flexible based on the process flow that you specify. It gets transacted through this process flow, and in this process flow, because these drawings are to be issued for construction or issued for procurement, we also need to have a schedule for these drawings, which means ultimately I need to make sure that this drawing is issued within a specified time. So instead of just looking at the start date and end date of this particular drawing, we can even have intermediate stages identified, saying that when is the drawing to be submitted, by what date it should be reviewed, and by what date it should be approved. So code 3 means approved with comments, and code 1 means it should be approved by this date. So I can have intermediate schedules, and I can also define weightages inside this, so that I can monitor the progress of how the drawings are going, so that ultimately I'm able to release the drawing on time. But what we have understood is, in any large capital project, the most important thing is you need to get all your documentation which is related to the drawings and documents issued on time. And if that happens, from our experience, what we have heard from project managers, if we can issue all the drawings, say 5% earlier than the project, the probability of the project getting delayed is very low because the rest of the activities can be taken care. And this is the basic input which is required for doing this. So now let me walk you through this process of how actually this happens. So what happens is a vendor, or it could be a consultant, will be logging into Wrench, and that vendor has or the consultant has committed that these are the list of drawings I'm going to give you. So what the consultant can do is that through the system itself, they can submit the drawing. So they can, they can pick up. They will already see that this is the list of drawing which I was supposed to submit. It's an HVAC duct drawing. They can upload the drawing into this. So here we will upload both the drawing and the comment file, which means we are submitting the drawing where I have the CAD file as well as the PDF file, which is meant for commenting, because ultimately we are going to comment on the drawing, and that is why the drawing has been submitted. So now when I submit this drawing, typically the process that happens is that there is a workflow which says this drawing is to be sent. So depending on the type of drawing, it goes to the concerned person. So it goes to the document controller who is responsible for sending this particular for receiving this document. So now the process that is typically followed in engineering company is that they create a submittal sheet, which they say that the following list of documents I'm submitting, and this is for approval, and I create a submittal or a submittal sheet along with this as a covering sheet, and along with that I submit the drawing. So the actual process of what you do as a part of that is captured here, which means everybody is given a login name and they know that this is the activity they are supposed to do. They do it through the system. The system produces all the records that are required for showing this. And now this particular through the submittal sheet, they will say this particular drawing, it need not be one drawing, it can be a bulk of drawing which is going to be sent to the next resource. So now this particular notification goes to the client receives it, and the document controller from the client side will review the drawing submitted by the consultant. Here I called him as a vendor. Actually it will be a consultant, and this consultant or contractor, in case the shop drawings are also to be reviewed according to the project quality plan, that will get submitted. So now what does the document controller do? The document controller looks at the drawing and says that, okay, this drawing is good, and he's going to send it to the concerned person within the owner's department. And there also we can identify multiple resources. So these are all pre-selected because you have already identified as part of your project quality plan that if we receive a particular type of drawing, it needs to be reviewed by whom. That is defined here. So now what happens is the lead engineer who's responsible will get a notification, and the lead engineer can comment on the drawing. So what happens is, since the system is driven by the workflow, each and every person who's responsible for doing this activity is notified by an email as well as through a to-do list. So they don't have to go and search for drawings in a folder or anything. They get notified, and the action that they need to be taken is communicated in the email saying that this drawing has been sent for commenting. So they can directly go there and open up the drawing and do a comment. So they are not going and selecting any file or anything. They're just doing their task as they're doing their activity, which is being told to them based on their standard procedure. So now this particular gentleman that's the lead engineer, puts in a comment. So there can be multiple people commenting. So we also have a facility where more than one people can simultaneously comment on the drawing, and we can consolidate all the comments and put this. So while they are doing their comments, what you see here is the system automatically captures the comment put by the resource. So here you are not only making sure that the comment is attached here, also you see that the time and date when this comment was put is also captured. So it's an audit trail is also maintained automatically by the system. So now what I do is I send this particular drawing with the comments to the vendor, saying that please incorporate these changes, or I can probably send it to a project manager who probably reviews this. So now you see the status in different colors. So inside the workflow, you see that there are stages. So right now, what that yellow means is that's a current stage. What is red is to be completed and blue is completed. So what happens is, as the work progresses, the status is getting updated, and the information which is the comment, which a sport, etc., is automatically documented and maintained within the system. So as I said, we are not only capturing the data, we are capturing the process, and one is we are enforcing the process through the system and capturing what output is put, be it the drawing produced by the design consultant or the comment put by the reviewer. All of that is updated, captured on the system itself. So now what happens is, consider that the owner has a lot of comments to put, so they create a comment resolution sheet. So what happens, so the system has a capability that if you put in a lot of comments on the drawing, the system can create something called a comment resolution sheet, automatically from all the text that you entered in the PDF file. And this information you can actually generate from here, saying that, okay, these are the list of comments that are there. So all the comments as a text from the drawing is captured. And now we are going to send this particular drawing to the consultant, saying that, please incorporate these comments and send it back to me. So here, in this example, I have taken an example of a drawing submitted by the consultant, commented by the client. Again, within the client can have consultants also within this, and those comments are consolidated and eventually sent back to the design consultant to incorporate these comments and then send it back to them after the changes. So now in this particular process, the flow is controlling the mechanism and of how this document has to or this deliverable has to follow, and it is also capturing what information is there. And now this is going to the consultant, for the with all these comments, and said, please incorporate this and send it back to us. So now what you see here is a transmittal is created for sending this document. Again, what I'm showing you is a standard procedure of how design drawings or documents are exchanged between multiple stakeholders, because we need a record of each of those, which says who sent it, what is sent, on what intimation is sent. So you see this, there is a mail notification which goes, and from this the consultant receives this particular document along with a transmittal sheet, and the consultant is now told, please incorporate the changes based on the comments we put and please resubmit the drawing. So there also, if you look at the schedule for this particular document, the system is capturing what was the drawing sent, when it was uploaded, when it was reviewed, by when it is gone back to the vendor, and when do I expect it. So as the work happens, the system is not only capturing the data, it is also automatically updating the status, which means the benefit is you're not only capturing the common data of the design information, we are also capturing the schedule with the actual dates without the person have to entering this. So you can see this, the actual date and time is recorded, and based on this I can see the progress that this particular drawing has reached 70% progress. Now right now, consider that the vendor is uploading a new drawing, which means he has been told to modify the drawing based on all those comments. So I'm not going to do that modification on the system, because in the interest of time, because I've only got 30 minutes to do. So I'm going to upload the revised drawing now into the system, saying that, okay, so now you see that the revision gets automatically incremented and the new drawing has now come. So now if you look at this particular drawing, it automatically maintains the previous revision. So you see that the earlier one is revision 0. Now you have two revisions, revision 1 and revision 0. So revision 0 has all the comments that were put, which is recorded with time, and revision 1 is the latest. So you could even compare between the two revisions and see what is the physical change between these two drawings. So you can see that in this drawing, the changes where it has got a arc that has been put. So physically the comparison is done, and you can access that particular drawing, and this is possible on CAD files as well as on PDF files. Now when you print a drawing, so ultimately we all print drawings, and many a time the printed drawing is what we use for all purpose. So it is important that anybody using the printed drawing at the shop floor or at any location where it has been in use, they need to make sure that they are accessing the latest drawing. So what we have done is we have a functionality where you can have a QR code printed on the drawing and put in there, and if you run your mobile on top of it, it will tell you whether the drawing that is printed and used on the site is the latest drawing or not. If not, it will tell you that this is an older version, so that you will never ever be using a wrong drawing for your manufacturing or for your procurement because of the by running through this QR code. So now I completed a cycle. So this is so I showed you a process of how we handle 3D. I showed you a process of how you handle 2D drawings. Now the 2D drawings are same as 2D documents also, which means, as I told you, the number of documents are large. Now the third important thing is, while we are handling these things, you also have a lot of communication, which is RFIs and correspondences. So they also go through a same process. So you can have a standard RFI, which is a request for information, which can be sent through the system, and it has a template. And these RFIs also go through a workflow, and that is also captured. So your emails, all your communications are also captured within the system. Now, since the system is capturing all this, you also have a benefit of reporting, because if I wanted to see that, okay, what is my status of the drawing, so I can see how many drawings were to be done, how many are completed, how many are delayed, and also you can see its progress. So how many are submitted, how many have got approved out of the submission. All your reports which you will be which you will be needed for monitoring your project from a design standpoint, is generated automatically in the background. Similarly, you can have, if you define progress information, you can also have your S curves, which will tell you this is what you have planned and this is your actual, and it will also tell you that what are the deliverables inside this which are not progressing as per plan, and accordingly you can see that these are this, and you can drill down into the details and find out why this is delayed and who is responsible for it. So what it means is, your system is showing you the actuals of what is happening versus what is planned, so that any deviation from the plan can be drilled down into the system. So these are the different types of reports which you automatically get generated from this transaction. And like here, this is a correspondence report which shows what all emails came, whether it was when was it supposed to be replied, whether it's replied or not. So everything that you transacted in a project is captured in the system, and it's also reported, so that you'll never have to maintain multiple systems. It's a common data environment in which all these informations are there, with complete history and complete audit trail of all the data that is maintained within this. Now, if you want to visualize this data on a 3D model, for example, now I'm seeing this as report, so it is not so exciting to see information on a report. Now, if you wish, you can even see the status of the drawings as well as your work, which means if even this can be extended to construction, it can be extended to procurement. Now, if you would like to say, okay, I have a 3D model and I want to know what is my today's work, and I would like to see that on the model, rather than I trying to imagine what this looks like. So what you could do is, within the system itself, we are able to identify the information as to how it is related to the 3D model. So within the 3D model, you can go and say that what is today's activity which is to be done. I can have the updated status within here, and the system will update show you in different colors on your 3D model, saying that today's work that needs to be done is this on the model. And if I have anything delayed, I can show that in different colors. So what is today's activity is shown in green, and what is shown in red shows that something is delayed and that can be updated. So which means you are able to dynamically show the status update of the work that is planned, that is completed, everything inside your 3D environment, so that you are able to visualize it easier. And senior management people who are looking at the whole project, they are having a digital twin in front of them. So instead of having a drawing pasted on the wall, you can have a 3D in a 3D of your project right there. And as work keeps happening, so here I'm only showing the design part. I can extend this to procurement and construction. I can see the status of the model, status of the work by the different colors on the different facets in the model itself. This can be also extended because in a rail project, you basically would have two parts. One is the stations and the rail. So on the rail, it is better to see it on a GIS, so we can even show this information on a GIS map to show you that this is the status of the work on a map, and what are the drawings issued, what are the drawings pending. All that also can be visualized just like this 3D model on a GIS map as well. So now, what are the other reports that we can generate? You can have S curves, you can have the detailed information related to the project. All these can be produced within the system. And more than that, now I've only handled the common data of the design part. Now this can be extended to other areas. So which means inside this particular project, so what we have currently implemented at NCRTC are the following. So as I showed you in the presentation, starting with project information management, document control, reporting, search, workflows, document approval process, then markups, transmittals, submittals, change management, RFI, mobility, access, security, audit trail. These are the various things we have currently implemented here. Now, what is the benefit through this is that the system enables you to provide a single source of information, and all this information, once it is completed, it can be handed over to asset management group because it's all indexed to your tag numbers of the various assets inside this. So the 3D information and the 2D drawings and all the information can be easily transferred digitally to through this. And also you can have a digital mock-up, a digital twin of the exact project that you're executing, and all these can be retrieved very easily. And because we are doing monitoring of the status of the project, you have complete transparency on what is to be done, who has to do it, where it is pending. All these are rightly available, and the reporting is real time. And from this, you are able to enforce your quality procedures by the workflows and checklist and other things. And all in case of any delay, as you showed in the S curve, the system will tell you that this is not progressing, so that you are able to take corrective action way before the delay happens. So ultimately, the system helps you to deliver the project that you're doing on time, within the budget, and as per 100% as per the quality. Now, further to this, when you're doing a project, now what we talked about is a common data environment of managing the various information handled in this. Now, if you need to measure this performance, so as a next step, the future scope of CDE is to extend this for actually monitoring the full scope of the project, the progress of the project, the cost, the engineering, procurement, risk, HSC, resources, interfaces, and lessons learned through an integrated project management approach, so that you get real-time dashboards which will show you what is your health of your project. So you're extending this functionality of CDE to really monitoring the projects also. So you know that, like, you see some traffic lights there. So which means if only the any of these traffic light shows red, which means you have a problem. So you say that if it's an yellow, which means we have a problem, but I think we can fix it within the next, there's a 5% variation, or there's a 7% variation. Depending on that, you can have different colors in it, and you can drill down into these projects by going into the details and saying, okay, inside this particular project, I can go to a specific package, and inside the project package, I can see what are the key milestones, what all are delayed. And when I click on the delayed item, it will list the items which are delayed, which means it provides a very powerful dashboarding functionality, which means you manage a project by exceptions instead of managing everything. So that reduces the effort required by the project manager. So here, what happens is, because the system is integrated, each and every stakeholder is being given the activity, what they are supposed to do. And when the respective activity is done by that resource, it is flowing through the process of the quality procedure, which is defined here. And in the process, when the reporting system will say what was planned, what was actual, and you will be able to see how your project is progressing. And as well as, like what you see here, this is a delay chart which shows you The central line shows the timelines. So on my overall project schedule, I can see where am I deviating from this. So this is the future scope of how the CDE can be extended for doing a real-time monitoring of a project, so that at any point in time you are taking necessary corrective action way before the delay has happened, so that you can prevent the possibility of projects getting delayed, and also monitoring the cost of the project from a budget versus actual spend, so that you know that where were you, how much were you supposed to spend, what progress you should have achieved, because we are monitoring the physical progress against the budget spent by integrating with your respective financial application, so that ultimately you have absolute control on the project. So as an integrated system, the system will show you where you are and at what stage you are, and captures all the data that is generated in a project, so that tomorrow you can use that information to hand over to your asset management group and complete the work on time, on budget, with all data digitally maintained in a central platform. So this is what is I wanted to share with you. Now, I'm sure you would have this would have invoked a lot of queries in your mind, and we'd like to open the floor for questions. So you can type in your questions in the thing, and we have a very good, very highly experienced panelists who have practically done a large number of projects, who are available with it. Please feel free to ask questions so that we can answer your queries right now. Thank you so much for patience for listening to me for the last half an hour.
Thank you, Daniel. Now we'll go ahead and take some questions. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions into the question box in your control panel. Yeah, seems like we got one question from Gupta. The question is it possible to have different workflows for commercial or procurement documents? I guess Daniel could answer this question.
Yeah, so the whole system is designed with a highly workflow enabled mechanism, so that you can categorize that, depending on the type of output, whether it is a design output, or it's a design deliverable, or a reviewer, or or maybe based on the type of document. So if it's a commercial document, you can say it goes to this process. If it is a inspection document, you can have a, so you can have, by depending on the type of task, you can have different workflows specified here.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. We have another question which came from Rohit. The question is, how long did it take to implement the system? I guess the NCRTC panelists could answer this.
Okay, so we initially took about 2 months to start the basic processes, and then gradually we migrated. So 2 to 3 months we were up and running with this system, although it required a lot of methodical planning of our systems. We had a core group set up who could identify the various requirements of various departments, and we subsequently added more and more workflows into the system. We started with basic workflows initially, and then we rolled out to all the other areas.
Okay, thank you, Rajaram. Thanks for the answer. Now we have another question from Mr. Ramasamy. The question is, what reporting tool are we using?
Power BI. We are using Power BI. It's also flexible that we can use other reporting tools like Tableau and others. It's agnostic to the report, but here we have used Power BI as a reporting tool.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. We have another question from Sudhanshu. This is about what was the tender process? So I guess it can be answered by the NCRTC panelist.
Yeah, it was an open tender process, but we had a system of technical and commercial financial evaluations. So first technical evaluations we have done, and based on the technical marks. Those who got highest marks, so top two persons financial bids were opened, and that was the main process. In the technical parts, we had well-defined requirements with marks allotted to each, and that was evaluated by a committee. And then we also had a concept of presentations and demonstrations during the evaluation process. So each and every bidder was asked to demonstrate those 100 points. I think we had 100 out points. So some of them were mandatory, some of them were optional. So accordingly, the marking system was well laid out in the tendering system, and accordingly we evaluated the tenders.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Rajaram. Okay. We have the next question that is from Asaruddin. The question is, could you please elaborate a bit on risk and lessons learned management?
Yeah, so this is something which we have not implemented yet. We are envisaging that doing that. So we have a complete risk register management system where we can identify what are the various risk items in a project against each package. We can identify what is the mitigation plan, and it can have a risk heat map which will show you that which are the critical risk and which are the less critical risk, and based on that it will present itself. So same thing with lessons learned. As the project is going, we have a lot of issues that come up, and that gets archived into lessons learned. So we've also incorporated a bot inside there so that it's intelligent enough to pick up similar issues in the past and make it available while searching, so that it's recorded within the system, so that the next project we don't do the same mistakes, and as well as the lessons learned are useful in the next step.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. We have another question from Sudhanshu. It's about the licensing policy. So Daniel could
so it is basically the system is set up on a license model where depending on the number of users that are accessing the system, you can license it. So it works on a concurrent user licensing, and every user associated with, even in a consultant, every consultant is given a login name, so that there is accountability in it, and then how many people use the system, that is how the application is licensed to the organization.
Okay, so now we have another question from Krishna, and this is to NCRTC panel. What were the difficulties in implementation?
Yes, the difficulties were primarily change management was required, because people who will be using this system, they were not used to digital platforms for managing these processes. So that initially there had to be a lot of training, hand holding, and defining the processes also, because initially when we started the system, we took some time to understand how it would behave. So we had so many iterations of workflows. So finally, the thing which works for us, that was arrived at that, that's how we have done. So basic difficulties were in onboarding the people to so that they start using the system. And of course, this requires management will from top also. So it has to be enforced from the top, that everybody, because initially it appears that there is a lot of overhead due to these systems, but ultimately the benefits which could be gotten from this will far outweigh this a small effort. So that has to be enforced. And then the system facilitation is required. A lot of facilitation is required initially. We had less challenges because we were almost like a greenfield kind of system. We only had a few drawings, few hundred drawings approved prior to this, which we onboarded on the system as release documents. But if there are a huge number of documents already done in manually, then there could be a challenge, and a strategy has to be worked out how to seamlessly migrate to the new platform. Otherwise, we for putting on things, our project was sanctioned in March, and we were up and running on this system in August, so of 2019. So we started it very early, in fact, stage in the project. So there were less challenges, but still challenges were there for migrating people to the digital platform. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rajaram. And we have a question to Daniel, and this is again from Sudhanshu. And his question is about number of licenses, cost, parameters for cost, like duration, hosting on cloud or client premise.
Yeah, so we could do that either way. It depends on the customer. The best way to set it up is on the cloud so that you don't have any, your scalability is excellent. So you could have, you can add up more hard disk space, or you can scale up the system drastically if you set it up on the cloud. And for any reason, I mean, we are hosted on Microsoft Azure, but if for some reason, if you would like to have that hosted in your internal hardware, this is also possible, because we don't have any limitation in setting it up in the, but you will have to manage the cloud infrastructure, or the hardware, the database, etc. Whereas if it's on the Microsoft Azure, everything is taken care by us. You don't have to worry about anything. You just become a user and you use it, and there is a monthly subscription cost or a cost for the hardware, based on it's basically whatever is offered by Azure. That is what we offer to you. And today Azure is available in 3-4 locations within India, so that your data is also within India itself. You don't have to keep it elsewhere. Plus, more than that, the cloud also gives you a mechanism to take real-time backups, or it is maintained on a disaster recovery server in 6 locations, so that it's much more safer, and it's also ransomware and viruses. All these issues can be taken care by them.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. So now we have the next question, that is to NCRTC panel, and this is from Sudeep. The question is, what is the biggest benefit of common data environment system for you so far? Is it in terms of improvement in QA or QC, or prevention of delays?
Right now, the processes being digital, we find in the manual processes that things will have to go in series, whereas here parallel working is taking place. So that is definitely a benefit, that people can start working on it simultaneously, and workflow happens faster. So that is the basic benefits. But ultimate benefits that we have envisaged, that at the end of this processes of construction, we will have all the latest drawings and documents available for operation at later stages, available online, which is very difficult in the manual systems. So that is primary objective, was our primary objective was that. And of course, it is speeding up the things. Although this is a change management, people are changing to this. So initial hiccups also come because of this workflow, but ultimately we are definitely benefiting from this system. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rajaram. We have another question from Kumar. His question is the common data environment only meant for engineering drawings, or can we also manage our contractual or commercial documents with the same platform? I guess Daniel could answer this.
Any information. In fact, that is why we call it as information. It can be drawings, documents, specifications. It can be anything that is dealt with the project. So ideally, there should be nothing outside the system. I mean, you should not manage anything outside the system. You should manage everything through the process.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Daniel. We have another question to NCRTC, and this is from Vijay. What were the difficulties in rolling out the common data environment internally as a part of change management?
I already told, yes, change management was a challenge, because training and support was required. We had a lot of hand holding was required. We had so many numerous training sessions for various users. We have project offices spread out across in the NCR region. So everybody had to be onboarded. So that was the initial challenge, so that everybody starts working on the system. That was the first challenge. And after that, people have started. Then later on, people would come up with changes in workflows and adding more workflows to the system for various types of processes. So that is all done. So bit support is a good tool can easily configure things. So but it helps to finalize if you give a thought to your processes, how you would like to structure your things. So then it becomes very useful and it can be done very smoothly in that case. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Rajaram. And we have one more question to you. That is from Sudhanshu. It's about, we have like n number of softwares. Is it worth to add one more?
Yeah, it depends on what types of software you have. But this is very. We are using this for primarily for document management system. So we have all kinds of documents tendering, be it tender approval process. The tendering documents are to be approved, or various correspondences are there with various stakeholders, because it becomes there is no such one tool where you can do all these things so easily, because it's a focused application for managing this type of activities and workflows. So I think it is worth it. Although we didn't have much of a software as of now in NCRTC, so this is one first major development which we have done, major deployment which we have done. So in the initial stages, this is the primary activities, because drawing release and issue and document management with the correspondences with the stakeholders. There are too many stakeholders in our project. So this is a very effective tool for us at this stage. So it depends
Also,
on what stage of project you are.
Yes,
Yeah.
also to add to it, sir, this particular system is an integrator, which means you have a Primavera, you have a CAD
Yeah.
system, you have a procurement system. There is no integration, no system that integrates all of this. So the role
Yes.
of this system as a common data environment, that's why it's called common data environment. As you saw, there is a Revit model which is created in Revit. You have commenting, which is done in a separate platform. So this becomes an integrator which integrates all the information in a single platform without having to change any of your applications. You can continue to do what it is. This will keep the flow of information and captures all the information in a single system.
Right. So we have one question which is similar to the previous one, that is about the integration with ERP and
Correct.
existing Office.
Yeah, that's that. It comes to that. Yeah. So all this, like be it Office, be it email, be it ERP, be it the cost system, budgeting system, all of this is integrated through this, so that it becomes a common data environment where you get all the information in one place.
Right. Okay. It looks like we have covered all our questions. Daniel, is there anything else that you would like to cover?
So I'd like to specifically thank the NCRTC team for sparing their time to answer these queries and attend this session. So really thank you for that, sir. And I hope that you will be able to influence more organizations to use systems to manage their projects, so that we don't have our projects getting delayed, and and also it's done in the most efficient ways, so that ultimately when a project is completed, we have all the information related to the project in one place, and we are able to hand it over to our asset management team to do that. Thank you so much, and thanks to all the attendees who took their time off to listen to us and see what we did. If you need any additional information or queries or clarifications, please feel free to write to us, or you can talk to us. And also whatever we've shown you is, we can't show you data from NCRTC, but we have shown you what is possible with the system. But we can really show you a presentation in line with your requirement. In case this is not you want to do something more than this, it is also possible through the system. And thank you very much. Thanks to all of you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. We would like to hear your opinion about this webinar, and we'll be sending you a quick survey. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.